everyone, and welcome to today's Way Forward Workshop Leader Lunch Break. As an aside, I have to say that we're thrilled to be talking with you this morning from our brand new home on the 4th floor of the Greater Cleveland Partnership Building in Playhouse Square. We hope you'll come and visit us. In response to cries for a committed and coordinated effort to prepare our young people for career opportunities within our region, the Greater Cleveland Career Consortium was formed just last year. Selected to lead this new effort was Autumn Russell. She took the reins without a clear roadmap, but with a very clear passion and an abundance of experience. Autumn is tasked with aligning all of the resources of the public, private, education, and nonprofit collaborators involved to help our Northeast Ohio students design career plans that align with their interests and their skills. She's really well positioned for this work, for prior to joining what's known as GCCC, Autumn served as Executive Director of the Early Career Program at Magnet, a pre-apprenticeship program for students to explore careers in manufacturing. She also devoted her early career to education with roles at the Ohio Department of Education, Cleveland Metropolitan School District, and Cuyahoga Community College. She firmly believes that it is time for a major paradigm shift in our thinking. We must redefine what success after high school looks like for our students, and clearly she lives this conviction. Her work has been recognized by Crain's as a 40 under 40. She's been recognized also as a notable businesswoman in STEM and honored with the Bank of America Emerging Leaders Award, among others. She's an alum of our Civic Leadership Institute in 2019, and you've got a cheering squad here from Leadership Cleveland 2021. Welcome, Autumn.
Well, thank you, Marianne. Thank you to not only Marianne, but also Rachel and the other members of the CLC staff for inviting me today. Truly honored to be here, and thank you to all of you that have joined into this conversation. I am excited to talk about the work of the GCCC and our vision, and so I am just going to hop right in, or as my 16-year-old would say, get into it. So I do have a few slides to help guide the conversation. So I'm going to share my screen and hope that technology is on our side today. And it is. I'll just start a little bit with some of the history and talk about, why GCCC is here and what we are here to accomplish. There we are. Okay. So just a little background. In 2019, the Cleveland Metropolitan School District and the Cleveland Foundation co-convened a planning and prototyping process to address the issue or the challenge of linking students to careers or career pathways. This 2.5-year process included more than 100 individuals, 40 organizations cross-sector. So involved in this process, you had individuals from education, K-12, higher ed, government, philanthropy, industry, and nonprofit partners, all working together to develop strategies on how to connect students to careers. There were a number of recommendations that came out of this process under two foundational pillars, and I'll go a little bit into those two pillars. The first pillar was to create a student-centered approach to career exploration. And the second pillar was to develop a consortium of those same cross-sector partners to help sustain this effort. So pillar one, and many of you already know, we know now as PACE. It is the Planning and Career Exploration Framework that launched in CMSD in November of 2021. And it is a continuum of these three components you see here on the screen, where all 6th to 12th graders have the opportunity to be involved in, to be engaged in an effort to have a career plan upon graduating high school. So that includes in-school activities. Those are activities that are literally in school. It can be in the classroom during their advising periods, but it's happening during the day. It is embedded into the school day. The out-of-school engagements are led by employer partners, and this is literally out of school. So it's not before or after school, it's still during the school day, but it is out of the school building. So this is opportunities for students to go into companies, do things like internships, job shadowing, tours of facilities. And then there's active career advising, where our nonprofit partner is helping students actively plan as they are going through these different components and activities throughout their 6th to 12th grade years. And then pillar 2 is the consortium. The Greater Cleveland Career Consortium was launched in March of 2022. So we are like 10 months old now. Um, and we are working to be the region's career pathway convener. Our role is to help to connect, support, align, and coordinate all of these entities that you see here on the screen, aligning all of the resources. And in many ways, because we are a collective impact organization, we are abandoning our own individual agendas and adopting and creating this ecosystem of aligned agenda, aligned metrics, and an aligned vision. And so we have been working together collectively since March to develop this regionalized system and this the centralized infrastructure and resource hub for all of these entities. Right now we have a little over 20, I think 22 partners, a part of the consortium. And again, this is just the education, nonprofit, public and private sectors. This does not include our employer partners. We have about 60 employer partners, and that list of employer partners are listed on our website that I will share with you later. So there, as you can see, there's a lot of momentum, a lot of support. You know, this is a heavy lift, but we have a lot of hands helping to lift it. So the difference in the relationship, you know, a lot of times I get, what's the difference between PACE and the GCCC? So just for information and reference, PACE is the actual work. It's the framework. It is what's happening in the school buildings that is allowing students to be exposed to careers and developing that career path, those career pathways. The GCCC is the ecosystem of partners that are working behind the scenes to align and coordinate these efforts. So our vision and mission at the consortium is to see every student graduate with a career vision and plan and all the things that they need to contribute to a competitive regional workforce. And as I mentioned, we do this by aligning all of our resources together. And not only are we preparing students, we're also cultivating talent and developing a diverse and equitable pipeline in our region. Our work is grounded in equity. We have equity in mind as we are building, and one of our goals is to advance racial equity through this work. We want to see that in our processes as well as in our outcomes. Again, the PACE framework, and this is for all students, but we do recognize that we need to make sure that we are closely addressing those from traditionally underrepresented communities so that they feel respected and have that access to growth opportunities. This statement is on our website as well, and is pretty much everywhere. We put it on all of our marketing materials because we are very serious about equitable opportunity. So our work pretty much falls into these 5 buckets, right? The first one is integrating and scaling PACE. So we are working directly with school districts to integrate, to plan, to implement, and to scale PACE into school districts across our region. The second is implementing this across the ecosystem. So that goes back to aligning all of the resources. The good thing about the consortium is that this moves us away from those isolated efforts that we have across the region. Example being, you know, only this employer works with this school district. Only this nonprofit is working with this school district. Because of the consortium, all students that are part of our consortium will now have access to all of the employers that are part of our network as well. And so this increases opportunity and expands opportunities for students and exposure. We also provide resources and support. So right now there is no direct cost to be a part of the consortium. We are providing all of the resources that we can and supports that we can from the consortium's view. We're also going to track outcomes and metrics. So we are working with a consulting firm right now to develop our metric system that will help us monitor and measure outcomes at the program level. So, you know, the district level, how is it impacting the students, the community, And then also we are measuring and monitoring our impact as a region due to this initiative. And then, of course, we are here to build a positive reputation, which I'm doing today, is talking about the work and getting people to understand the value and buying into the value of this initiative, and ultimately making PACE in the GCCC a best practice nationally. So you may have heard last month we announced our expansion efforts. So we've been working, as I mentioned, with CMSD, supporting PACE and integrating PACE in CMSD since the fall, since our inception in March 2022, I'm sorry. And we just invited 10 additional school districts to join the consortium. And intentional about using the word invited only because we are in the process of developing partnership agreements. And so once those are signed, they are official partners, but all 10 districts have accepted the invitation to partner with the consortium. And so with this expansion, it expands our reach until about 30,000 students that we'll be able to engage throughout these 11 districts. Here is just a visual. None of these outside of the CMSD logo are official logos, but this just gives a visual of how the consortium works to support and embed the PACE framework into all of these districts. And so the intentionality around the different colors that match the district colors is that although every district will implement the PACE framework, each district does have the autonomy to have an individualized implementation plan, which means their PACE may look different from the PACE at CMSD, right? They are able to use whatever resources they have and able to plan according to what they feel the students need in order to achieve these goals. But it's helpful for the community to understand PACE at Shaker, PACE at Warrensville, PACE at Maple, are all career exploration and planning career pathways. So how can you engage? I am so glad you asked that question. There are so many ways to engage with the consortium. One way, we will always need more volunteers to come in and talk to students about careers. I often ask the question, how many of you knew about the role that you're in right now when you were in 6th grade? Did you even know that the role that you're in right now existed? Did you know there was an opportunity? And many times I hear no. And so we want to change that. We want our 6th through 12th graders to understand all of the opportunities that are available to them. And so we need you to do that. There are opportunities to volunteer on a short-term basis. On a long-term basis, you can volunteer as an individual or with your employer. And they're on our website, www.greaterclecc.org. And I think Andrea is here. So Andrea, if you can throw that in the chat, that would be great. On each of our the pages of the website, there is a Get Involved tab. And there you can understand the opportunities that you have available to you and also connect to one of our team members. And we'd be happy to have you. Of course, we have a QR code that you are able to scan. We invite you to join the conversation with us on all our social media platforms. With this QR code, you can access our website and all of our social media accounts. So please do that. You can actually take out your phones right now and use your camera to do that. We look forward to connecting with you that way as well. And again, the website is greaterclecc.org. If you like to get connected. And Rachel, I think I did that in 10 minutes, maybe.
Autumn, you did a fantastic job. That was great. So we do have a few questions.
Sure.
Let's start with just since PACE was rolled out last November in 2021. Now, how has that rollout been and what has been the reaction from the students, from the teachers?
Yeah, so the rollout has been great. We have received a lot of feedback, a lot of positive feedback, a lot of supports. We have increased our partnerships because of it. People want to get involved. People want to know more. Students are elated that this is a student-centered initiative. And so students are not tracked. That's one of the things that we are, that this initiative is geared to do, is to move the conversation from, are you going to college or are you going to go straight into the workforce after high school. And we're moving that conversation to talk about, what do you want to do? What is your career vision? And then we can talk about the different pathways to get there. So students are really excited that they have a lot of say. They're not tracked into one pathway, but they have the opportunity to listen to so many different options and to understand what's available and align that to what they are good at and what they're interested in.
So kind of speaking of that career pathway opportunity, how are you ensuring that they're looking ahead to what might be those careers of tomorrow, not just what we see today?
That's a great question. And we're doing that by making sure we have the right people at the table, the right partners at the consortium. So the consortium is a collective impact model, which means our team, our staff is very small intentionally. There are 6 of us on our team, but our partners drive the work. And so our team is just coordinating and aligning and facilitating, but the partners are actually telling us what they need, what's coming up, what the future holds, so that we make sure that we align the need to the curriculum that we are delivering in the schools.
And you mentioned that there's not a cost to participate. So can you talk a little bit about your funding model and potentially funding needs that you see down the road?
Absolutely. Yeah. So right now, there is no direct cost to the consortium. We are funded philanthropically. We have a number of philanthropic foundations as well as some public dollars. Thank you to the county that just awarded us $3 million to expand into those 10 districts across the county. So we are able to provide necessary supports right now. Of course, down the road, we need to develop an economic model for sustainability. And we are in the process of developing what that looks like. The one thing that we are sort of wrestling with right now is, of course, transportation, right? The school districts, we need to transport students to those out of school engagements. And so there we see a need, expense or a need for more funding. But right now we are in good shape, and we are looking to develop new partnerships in order to sustain this effort.
So you mentioned that you invited these new districts to become part of this and expand. So how does that invitation come to be? What kind of choices, decision making did you have to invite these new schools, and how do schools look to become involved in the future?
That is a great question. And so we do have a leadership council comprised of the 24, represent 24 of the organizations that you saw in the earlier slide. And as a council, we developed criteria to help us prioritize which districts we can engage initially. And equity, again, as I mentioned, was at its core. We had a number of districts, express interest, and our motto will never say no, I don't think, to a district. It is more of yes, but how and when, because we want to make sure that we have enough resources to effectively support each district. So that cohort model that you saw came because we wanted to say yes to all the interested, but we had to make sure that we can effectively support. And so the criteria was around equity. We wanted to prioritize districts that had majority minority student population, and we wanted to prioritize districts that had a high percentage of economically disadvantaged students. And then we also wanted to prioritize districts that may have the resources to start this right away. And so those are some of the things that we looked at as we prioritized which districts at what level we will engage.
And are you looking to stay within districts, or are you also considering potentially charter schools and community schools?
So our goal, we are the Greater Cleveland Career Consortium, and our goal is to see every student in our region have this opportunity. So to answer that, yes, for sure, we would like to start to think about how we can engage students outside of the traditional public school districts. But right now we want to make sure that we get this model right.
So if employers are looking to expand pathways and pipeline programs, how can they become partners?
So the same way our website is a great tool. You can go straight to the website as an employer or as an individual. There's a very easy and quick form to fill out just to give us some initial information. And one of our team members will be in touch and talk about, whatever opportunities you have, whether it's short term to come into a classroom to talk about your profession or talk about your career, or if your company has capacity and resources to host internships, long-term opportunities for students. So the website is a great first touch point, but any member of our team can also assist.
So question around, what are you hearing from the students? What are some of the themes that are arising from the conversations? What industries are they thinking about? What are they looking to do next?
So one of the things we are working towards and making sure that we do is really balancing the interest of the students with or against the need of our region, right? So you often hear IT, healthcare, manufacturing, and we really want to push those professions, which we absolutely do. But we also are considering very heavily the students' interest. And so sometimes you see there's a barrier and there's a, how do we balance those two? So we have in place student surveys that students are able to receive feedback every time they engage with an employer or hear from an expert. They give us feedback. We have a system called Transio that helps us track all of those things. The Transio is also a great system that connects employers to students. So employers have the opportunity to put in their opportunities, and students can see them across the region. So if I'm a student in CMSD high school, I can see if a Lincoln Electric has an internship opportunity and can connect to that right away. Once the student has that opportunity and engages, then they have a chance to fill out a survey to say, hey, I like this about this experience. I didn't like this so much. I'm very interested in learning more. And so we're in the very beginning stages of collecting that data, but we are seeing a trend that students are interested in many different things. So we are working to strategize around balancing that.
Do other urban areas have similar programs? And what was the model for implementing this program?
That's a great question, and often Eric Gordon laughs when people says that, because there is no model. Cleveland is the first, and there's a lot of conversation around it. I will say that there's a lot of conversation that this is needed, that we need to do that, but it doesn't seem that anyone knows how. And so Cleveland has the opportunity. We have Greater Cleveland has the opportunity to create this blueprint, and that can eventually become a best practice. So as I think Marianne mentioned in the intro, there is no blueprint. We are building this together, and we're building this with all the perspectives of the different partners cross-sector and inclusive of the students and the community.
So focusing around the consortium itself, building and aligning within an ecosystem can be really challenging. So what are some of those successes and best practices and things you're leaning on to help grow this consortium?
Well, I will say we have a great number of partners that understand the value, right? I think most people understand you can do more together, right? And as I mentioned, there are just a lot of isolated efforts. We're all working toward the same thing, which is a greater Cleveland, right? A better, greater Cleveland. So how can we use those resources to come together to do that? One of the things we are doing is creating this collective impact. So everyone has a seat at the table. We are not developing something for others, but we are developing with others. And everybody can see their place and their value in this work. And I think that is super helpful, because they're able to say, hey, this works for us, but this doesn't work for us. And then we can together strategize on how we can develop a model that is beneficial and that works.
What challenges are you anticipating on the horizon, and how are you looking to address those?
Well, one of the challenges, which I think is a positive challenge, is we will need more employers involved, for sure. As I mentioned, we are now looking to engage 30,000 students over the next couple of years. And so with those engagements, we will need more folks to participate and to talk about different careers and to help us expose students to these careers. And then potentially, funding. We will need to make sure that we do have a sustainable plan to help us continue this work as it continues to grow. We do anticipate a lot of interest. As I mentioned, we had a lot of interest in the beginning, and as I began to talk to different entities and different conferences and things like that, the interest is growing. And so we will need more partners on board in order to effectively sustain this work.
How are you engaging teachers to help support kids' career aspirations?
That is a great question. Teachers are very involved. At CMSD, a lot of the teachers are being trained on the PACE framework. And so a lot of the in-school activities that I mentioned are happening in the classroom with the teachers. And so I know Andrea's on, she's one of my directors, and she talks about how teachers, she has an example about a geometry teacher that, is teaching a lesson, and now she's talking about career opportunities, that use geometry, and so it's an opportunity for teachers to understand also beyond their normal day-to-day curriculum and embed that career exploration and align it to what they teach every single day.
How might you address through programming students who may be hesitant to participate because they have some self-doubt or just lack familiarity about next steps and career pathways?
Well, I think the way that the PACE framework has been developed it's very inviting because, again, it's student-centered. And so we are not telling students what to do. We're asking them how they want to approach it, right? And so the beginning stages of, in the 6th and 7th grade, it's all about self-awareness. So they're able to explore themselves. What do I like? What don't I like? What am I good at? What interests me? And so it is student-led. And so we haven't had, I don't think, much pushback from students. They really welcome this opportunity to be involved and to take advantage and to lead their own futures.
The growth of PACE and the growth of GCCC has been incredibly impressive over the past year. How are you looking to be able to sustain that growth as you look forward?
Again, it's all about spreading the word, talking about it, and increasing partnerships. We cannot do this alone. We definitely need all hands on deck. And so the strategy is to continue to do the work so that those that may not be on board or may not be totally bought in right now will soon see the value of it and join us. And so that's the short-term strategy.
And as you look ahead, what's the vision for what's next and what do you need to get you there?
So the vision of what's next is to really make sure over the next year or so that we are implementing this work with fidelity, understanding what's needed to sustain this work. And so we are building and flying the plane at the same time. And so the goal is to really understand what it takes to sustain this work, and then to begin to reach out to get those resources to make sure that we have what we need to continue.
Well, Autumn, we are so excited for the work that you and your team and the entire consortium is doing to bring this and build this blueprint here in Cleveland. And I will be sure to share the website in the follow-up email. Encourage everyone on this call, if you are interested and want to learn more, please follow up. The need for volunteers is great, and hopefully you will find a way to be involved. Autumn, thank you so much for today.
Thank you. And thank you all. Look forward to connecting.